Welcome! Tonight on Bay Area Psychology, we have a special treat. We have returning guest Elise Parsons, author of Universal Style, and Angie Congdon of Reflections by Angie. When we last met with Elise, we learned about her current wardrobe system, Inner Essence, Outer Expression, which is designed to tease out who we are on the inside and then reflect what we discover in the way we dress. Well, tonight she's joined by Angie, a specialist in color, to take a closer look at the process of determining our internal and external style. Welcome. I want to thank you both for making the time to come down and talk about this a little more. I know the last time you were here, we, toward the end of the show, we sort of whipped through your new product because we were running out of time. We got into yakking about other things. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to sort of pick up on that conversation and then move ahead. Okay? So probably the best thing to do would be, Angie, if you could pick up the thing, if you could reacquaint us, for those who might not have been watching a couple weeks ago, on this pyramid of purpose that you had begun to explain to us.
Okay.
Okay?
Basically, the pyramid of purpose is a system by which you come in contact with your, or become aware of, your own innate abilities. And I've taken our whole life sequence and put it into various stages. So there are 5 stages, and the first stage is the base stage, and that would be from 1 to 28 years old. And during the base stage, we are developing, and it's sort of like setting a foundation for our entire life. So we develop physically, we achieve our complete growth, we're developing mentally, we're getting educated, finding a life's work, etc. We're developing emotionally, learning to handle the emotions from teenage years and then on into our 20s. And then we're also developing spiritually. What ends up happening in each stage, I notice there's sort of one area where we don't seem to develop quite as much. So unless people have some kind of religious background or some kind of training, sometimes they don't develop too much spiritually during that base area.
Okay.
So that's what happens the first 28 years.
Okay, well, let me ask this. What are the consequences of not developing spiritually? I mean, that seems significant to you.
All right, I think it's a real significant one. In fact, Angie and I have been talking about what it means to be an image consultant, because the two of us are working very closely together now. Since Angie works with color primarily and I work with proportion and style, there's a wonderful connection there, and both of us have realized that the thing that really makes us feel passionate about our profession is the fact that we are not dealing with people's outsides at all. It looks like we're, you know, doing the surface, we're working with their image, we're telling them how to put themselves together, but we were saying to each other that the only thing that's the clue as to how we do that outside is what we are sensing in the inside. Who is that real person? And how does that person want to give their message to the world? And the outside exterior is a wonderful means of getting across that interior message, because it's something that's visible.
So as a color person, specialist, do you see that people choose colors the same way in terms of, do they instinctually tend to choose colors that reflect that part of them? Or I'm wondering if sometimes there's a disconnect, that they might be out of sync with that.
Well, I think sometimes when they're younger, they're experimenting. So, you know, through the teenage years, they're experimenting with what they like to wear, and different colors give you a different feeling. And what I have found is, as women have gone through maybe their 30s and primarily going into the 40s, they come back to colors that they have loved over the years, that have been consistent in their wardrobe. And what I found is that it's a part of who they are. It's a part of maybe a color from their eyes, it's part of a color maybe that's from their skin or from their hair color. So it's very interesting to find this consistency that they have running through their wardrobe over the years as relating to them internally or externally.
So we sort of pick up maybe color themes that we're most comfortable with.
Yes.
Okay. So are we experimental with color in that 1 to 28 range as well? I mean, I expect that we're experimental with style.
Well, what Angie and I were talking about which we found just fascinating, because to find out what your innate abilities are, you need to look at your moments of bliss, things that really stand out, things where people complimented you and you did them very naturally. And we were talking, and I was saying, well, one of the things that I remember very distinctly was I won Best Dressed in high school. So this would have been like 17 years old. And I was keeping diagrams of my clothes. So for 1 month, I would write down what I was going to wear every day of the week and how to combine them together. So I was very much, and I'm a proportion person, so I really cared about the clothes and how to make them give different messages at different times, that type of thing. Now, Angie, do you want to share your story about?
Yeah, you know, it was interesting because I realized that going through this process, I did a lot of work with my hands. So whether I was doing, I sewed a lot. I learned to sew at the age of 7. My mother had me doing embroidery. But what stuck out of my mind the most was the combinations of colors of threads that I was using in the embroidery. Or if I was doing ceramics as a young child, it was the combinations of colors that I was using when I was painting. So for me, primarily what stood out as I was exploring different avenues of crafts was color.
Okay. So there were definitely hints of your future,
Yes.
even at that age, as early as 7.
Exactly.
How interesting.
That
Okay.
early.
So 1 to 28, we're sort of experimenting, and then what happens?
Okay, then you move into, from 28 to 49 years old, the next 21 years, you move into what I call the balance years. And this is where you are trying to balance body, mind, and soul. And in the mind, I talk about your profession and your intellectual pursuits and everything that you're doing that is of a mental component or has a mental component to it. And then in terms of the body, that is your relationships. It's also the way you look physically, how you're getting yourself together for the various roles that you're playing. So here's where you are juggling whatever roles you might have: working person, mother, wife, sister, a daughter, any of those particular roles. And then again, we have the soul. And so how are you taking care of that soul? Thomas More, I think we alluded in the last program, care of the soul. We also talked about simple abundance and how in that book you do, through journaling, you come up with this idea of who you are inside again. Because when Joseph Campbell talked about moments of bliss,
yes.
Bliss means when you feel complete and whole, you are one with your essence. And so you find out who you really are by these moments of bliss that occur. So you really need to get in touch with that soul to see what those moments of bliss are.
And there's a lot of interference. I mean, I'm sure in many ways. I mean, I know when we talk about trying to meditate and sort of all of the scraps of conversation and variety of thoughts that sort of are in there, and half the time we're not even aware of it. Now, you in your life, I know, are a juggling queen. You've got family, and I know that you you have your career, and you're a perpetual student. How is that for you to be at this place in your life?
Actually, it's very exciting. And to be honest, it's a struggle sometimes as well to balance volunteer at my daughter's school and an art program that I teach, wife, making sure that I spend some quality time with my husband, continual education for myself, and because I love to learn, and so if somebody has something new out there on style or color, I'm right in there wanting to find out what it's all about. And professionally, yeah, it is a juggle, and it's a struggle sometimes.
Do you find that you do shift your style or color depending on what role you were in?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay, and is
Yeah.
that conscious for you?
For me, it's conscious because that's what I do.
Because of what you do for a living?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, do you suspect that you did that before you became...
I do.
Okay.
There's a part of it that I'm learning too, that I just do it innately.
Okay.
And through the schooling and the education, I found out why I do it innately. And so it's kind of given some meaning and direction. So as I'm working with clients, then I can help them discover for themselves why they do certain things innately, and maybe open up a door that they haven't even thought of before, that they can explore.
Yeah, so sort of seeing that about yourself and translating that into career or into even an avocation. That's wonderful. Okay. So once we're all balanced out, Elise, then what happens?
Then we move into the next area, and this is from 49 years old to 63. And this is what I call bipolar. Now, I found out yesterday that in psychology that has a whole different meaning.
Yes, that is a mental illness.
Exactly. I was shocked when I found that out, Mary.
I say use it anyway.
Right. Well, what I meant by it is we are coming together with the two parts of ourselves. So it's the anima and the animus, the male and the female within us. The right and the left brain, so that they work together and you don't just be all creative and right brain or then all logical and left brain. We also bring together the body and the soul. So now we're getting into, we are doing a workshop for the Miracle Resource Center.
Oh, that's right. It's a fundraiser,
It's a fundraiser for the Miracle Resource Center, exactly, which is a nonprofit organization in Los Gatos. And it's going to be on October the 25th. And the workshop is 6 hours, and the name of the workshop is Inner Essence, Outer Expression. And it captures exactly what we're talking about, because in the morning, we're going to talk about people's inner essence. Everybody's going to be given a journal. There's this Pyramid of Purpose journal. And they will go through the journal, through all of these stages that we're talking about, and they will record their moments of bliss to find out innately what they did. Like, Mary, I bet with you, were you interviewing and talking to people at a very early age? I mean, because you're such a natural at doing this that I feel like you must have been doing that. You must have been there with a little play microphone saying.
I've always wanted to know, Elise.
Yes.
That is very true.
Okay. So, and that would just come out and it would manifest at another time in your life.
Exactly.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to really explore what are these gifts. I have a real strong feeling that each of us is a spark of the divine. And as a spark of the divine, we have something to give, that if we don't give that, it's not out there in the world. So what we try to do is to find out, first of all, what it is, to nurture it, to love it, to have it come to fruition through all the parts of our life, and then we give it to the world. And we give it to the world by aligning with other people that have the same goals. It seems to come out stronger that way. So once we can have people, and then people feel so validated. It's like,
well, absolutely. You're connected to your purpose.
You are.
Now, we're going to take a quick break. Do stay with us. When we return, we will learn how to translate our inner discoveries to outer expression. Welcome back. When we were at a break, Angie said something I thought particularly interesting, so I thought we should share it with everybody. You made an observation about this sense of purpose and how you sort of know when you're aligned with purpose.